So imagine you're looking at someone, right? And you say, I did this for you,
Okay, yeah. Sounds nice.
right? But now imagine looking at that exact same person and saying, I did this to you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, completely different vibe.
It really is. I mean, the first one makes you sound like this deeply generous friend, you
Yeah.
know? And the second one makes you sound like, I don't know, a supervillain in a comic book movie.
Yeah, you're about to trap him in a laser cage or something.
Exactly. And it's all because of one tiny, like, two-letter word, which is wild. So today we are doing a deep dive into decoding the invisible emotional power of, well, arguably two of the most frustrating words in the English language.
2 and 4.
Yes, 2 and 4. And I gotta say, it's amazing how much heavy lifting those two little words actually do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a single preposition can just completely rewrite your relationship dynamics in an instant, like you just showed with that example.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're unpacking today. So whether you're, learning English, or maybe you're drafting high-stakes professional emails, or honestly, if you're just someone who loves understanding the hidden machinery of how we talk.
Which is such a fascinating thing to dig into.
It really is. Because if you speak English, you've probably run into the 2 versus 4 dilemma at some point. So our mission for this deep dive is to give you, the listener, a shortcut to genuine intuition.
Right, because nobody wants to memorize a textbook.
Exactly. We are bypassing the stressful, rigid grammar memorization and replacing it with a simple, reliable mental model.
And honestly, that's really the only sustainable way to master any language. I mean, if
Hmm.
you're treating grammar like it's this complex math equation,
Right, where you have to carry the one.
yeah, exactly, where you have to solve it in your head before you even open your mouth, you're going to freeze up. Fluency is really about internalizing the underlying logic so that eventually it just, feels natural.
And there's actually a deeply empathetic observation about this in our source material.
Hmm.
If you stop a native English speaker on the street and ask them, like, why they chose the word to instead of for in their last sentence,
Well, their brain will just completely short circuit.
total freeze. They have absolutely no idea. They'll just shrug and be like, I don't know, it just sounds right.
Yeah, but that sounds right phenomenon. It isn't magic.
Right.
It's actually a direct result of these invisible rules that native speakers have just absorbed over decades of sheer exposure. They recognize the patterns, even if they don't know the terminology at all.
But, I mean, if you're trying to perfect your English as an adult, or even just trying to figure out why your own writing feels a bit clunky sometimes,
Mm.
you don't always have decades to just wait around for that exposure to kick in.
Exactly. You need to peek under the hood and actually understand the mechanics.
So let's actually start peeking under that hood, because
Yeah.
there is this brilliant paradox in the source text that just perfectly illustrates what we're talking about here.
Oh, the message from the language student.
Yes, it's so good. It involves this message from a very frustrated language student who was complaining about, not understanding the rules for these two words. But the incredible thing is, in the middle of their complaint, they flawlessly executed those exact rules.
It really is the ultimate learner's paradox.
Yeah.
Your brain has successfully internalized the pattern, right? But your conscious mind is still panicking because you can't articulate the formula.
Listen to this exact quote from the student's message.
Yes.
Okay, they wrote, I have been learning English for 3 years. I study to improve my career. I do exercises for practice. I listen to podcasts to get better.
It's just brilliant.
Right. They effortlessly bounced back and forth between 2 and 4 multiple times, completely correctly, without even realizing they had mastered it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful string of sentences. I mean, for 3 years. To improve, for practice, to get better, all completely
Almost
natural.
so natural.
And analyzing why those specific choices work brings us to what we can call the core test.
Okay, the core test. Let's get into it.
Yeah, this is the foundational mechanism. If you understand this one concept, honestly, it's going to work for you in about 80 to 90% of all the cases you encounter.
I gotta say, I am a huge fan of an 80% safety net. That is pretty solid. So let's break down this core test. What are we actually looking at when we decide between 2 and 4?
Okay, so at their most basic level, both 2 and 4 are prepositions that connect ideas.
Hmm.
More specifically, they both exist to answer the question why or what for.
Right, which is exactly why they get confused so easily.
Precisely. They share that function.
Mm.
But here is the critical difference. They are looking at entirely different types of targets. Let's look at 2 first.
Sure.
The word to is almost always followed by a verb in its base form.
Okay, so an action.
Yes, exactly. It introduces an action, a purpose that involves physically or mentally doing something.
Right, like saying, I went to the gym to get fit. Getting fit is the action you're undertaking. Or like, he called me to apologize. Apologize is the verb.
Spot on. And there is a highly reliable mental trick you can use to verify if you're using it correctly.
Oh, I love tricks. What is it?
If you can replace the word to with the phrase in order to, and the sentence still makes perfect grammatical sense, you've chosen the right word.
Ah, okay, so like, he called me in order to apologize.
Exactly. It works seamlessly.
That is a great little hack. Okay, so to is tied to verbs and actions. How does for operate differently?
So for behaves differently because it's followed by a noun or a noun phrase. Instead of introducing an action, it introduces something you can actually name, something concrete.
Like a physical object.
A physical object, sure, or it might be a reason, a tangible benefit, a duration of time, or a specific recipient.
Okay, let's make that super concrete for the listener because, I mean, noun phrase can sound a little bit academic.
Yeah.
What are the actual everyday jobs that for is doing in a normal sentence?
Fair enough. We can break it down into 4 primary jobs. Job 1 is showing purpose using a physically a thing.
Okay.
For instance, this button is for emergencies. Emergencies is a noun concept.
Got it.
Job 2 is indicating a recipient, so someone who benefits. Like, I bought these flowers for my mom. Mom is the noun.
Right, that makes sense.
Job 3 is showing duration, and honestly, this is where a lot of people trip up.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like saying, I have been waiting for 20 minutes. 20 minutes acts as a noun phrase. It's a measurable chunk of time.
Okay, and the fourth job?
The fourth job is providing a reason using a noun. Like, thank you for your help. In this context, help is functioning as the named thing you're grateful for.
Okay, so to make this instantly memorable, because I am like an incredibly visual learner,
Oh, me too.
I want to share this mental image from the source text that just completely clicked everything into place for me when I was reviewing it.
Oh, the arrow in the container.
Yes. Okay, think of the word to as an arrow. Imagine a physical aerodynamic arrow pointing forward, like flying through the air toward a dynamic action you're about to execute.
I love that.
Right, like to jump, to study,
Yeah.
to apologize. It's active. It has forward momentum.
The arrow analogy is incredibly apt, honestly, because verbs themselves inherently contain that sense of forward motion.
Exactly. And then contrast that by picturing the word for as a container, like a literal cardboard box or a glass jar. A container holds a tangible thing, a specific person, or, a blocked out chunk of time.
Right, so like for your mother, for emergencies.
Yeah.
For 3 years.
Yes. You can physically or conceptually put those things inside a container, but you cannot put the active verb apologize into a box. It doesn't work.
No, it just bounces right out.
So to is your active arrow flying toward a verb, and for is your sturdy container holding a noun.
And if you adopt that mental model, the decision-making process becomes incredibly swift. You don't have to parse the whole sentence grammatically.
Yeah.
You just look at the word immediately following the blank space.
Are you pointing toward an action? Shoot the arrow. Used to.
Exactly. Are you dealing with a person, a thing, or a time block? Put it in the container. Use for.
Okay, so we've established that to and for behave very predictably in isolation. But let's be honest, language rarely stays perfectly clean like that.
Rarely, yeah.
We have to address what happens when these rules collide. What happens when the blank space in a sentence could seemingly take either a verb or a noun?
Ah, yes. The tricky middle. This is the gray area that drives professionals completely crazy, particularly in, like, business communication.
So give us an example.
Okay, let's look at a scenario where both words are grammatically flawless, but they communicate slightly different intentions. Imagine you travel to a new city and a customs agent asks why you're there. You could say, I came here to work. Or you could say, I came here for work.
Native speakers use both constantly.
Constantly.
And both of those actually run perfectly through our mental model. To work means work is acting as the verb arrow. For work means work is acting as the noun container.
Exactly.
But like, why would I intentionally choose one over the other in a real conversation?
It really comes down to where you want to place the emphasis. If you say, I came here to work, utilizing that active arrow, you're emphasizing the physical activity. You're telling the agent that the very purpose of your travel is to sit down and physically perform the action of working.
Okay, and the container.
If you say, I came here for work, utilizing the container, you are treating work as a broad category. You're essentially saying, my presence in this country falls into the container labeled work. as opposed to the container labeled holiday.
Wow, that is a fascinating, subtle distinction.
Oh,
So it's emphasizing the process of what you're doing versus emphasizing the broad category of why you're there.
yes.
And this actually brings us back to that supervillain hook from the beginning of the deep dive. This choice between an arrow and a container doesn't just change the emphasis of a sentence, it can change the entire emotional reality of a relationship.
It absolutely can. I mean, prepositions carry an immense amount of emotional weight. When you say, I did this for you, you're using the container rule. You're placing you, the other person, in the position of the recipient.
The container holds a benefit.
Exactly. It describes a positive, generous act. You're giving him a gift.
But the second you swap that to the arrow,
Right. I did this to you. Suddenly, you are taking that action and pointing it directly at the person like a weapon. The arrow implies that the action was inflicted upon them.
it sounds like a threat or a pretty heavy accusation.
Yeah, what did I do to you? Sounds like you were deeply hurt and defensive. Whereas, what did I do for you? Sounds like you're bitterly reminding someone of all the favors you've done.
It is wild that a simple two-letter word completely rewrites the psychology of a conversation. But I do have a point of confusion here based on something I hear people say in the real world all the time.
Please challenge the rule. That's honestly how we test it.
Okay, consider apologies. People say sorry to and sorry for constantly, like sorry to bother you or sorry for the delay. Is this just an exception where English is trying to torture us again, or does our arrow and container logic actually survive this?
Oh, the logic entirely survives it.
Wait, really?
Yes. Let's run those exact examples through the test. Sorry for the delay. What is a delay?
A delay is well, it's a concept, right? A noun.
Exactly. It is a thing you can name and put into a container. Therefore, we use for. Now look at sorry to bother you.
Okay, bother is an action.
Yes. It is a verb that you are actively inflicting on someone's schedule. So we use the active arrow, to, sorry for, plus a noun container, sorry to, plus an action arrow.
Okay, I'm genuinely relieved. That makes total sense when you break it down like that. But since our core test survived the tricky middle, we do have to venture into the territory where logic seemingly evaporates.
Right.
We need to talk about the danger zones.
Yes, the danger zone. The moments where you just have to momentarily suspend the arrow and container models and accept the historical quirks of the English language.
Let's start with what might be the single most common trap for anyone learning English, or honestly, anyone just writing a professional email, the thank you trap. There is a golden rule of gratitude, right? After the phrase thank you, you always use the word for, even if it feels like an action verb is coming next. You say, thank you for helping me. You absolutely never say, thank you to help me.
And this is where people get incredibly frustrated. Because helping looks exactly like an action verb, so naturally they want to use the arrow.
Yeah, it makes sense why they'd want to.
But there was a very specific mechanical reason why we use the for container here. In the phrase, thank you for helping me, the word helping isn't functioning as a moving active verb anymore. The ing at the end turns it into something called a gerund.
A gerund. Okay, you are going to have to translate that piece of linguistic jargon into human for me. How does an action suddenly stop being an action?
Okay, fair enough. Think of it like taking a photograph. When you add ing to a verb in this specific context, you are taking a snapshot of the action. You freeze helping from a dynamic moving arrow into a physical two-dimensional photograph.
Oh, wow, I like that.
Right. Now that it is a frozen concept, a noun, you can slide that photograph right into the for container. The act of helping becomes a thing you possess gratitude for.
That photograph analogy is brilliant. It freezes the action into an object. So it's always, thank you for your patience, thank you for the report, and thank you for helping. The container holds the gratitude.
Exactly.
Okay, that one I can accept. But what about all the other fixed expressions, the idioms, like look for, wait for, listen to? Why are certain verbs permanently glued to specific prepositions, even when it totally defies our rules? Honestly, it feels like a total failure of grammatical design.
I completely understand that frustration.
Yeah.
It really does feel messy. But we have to remember that language is not a piece of software that was perfectly engineered in a laboratory. It's a living, biological system that has grown over thousands of years. So these aren't failures of logic, they are historical grooves.
Historical grooves, what do you mean by that?
Well, hundreds of years ago, millions of people speaking this language simply fell into a habit of pairing certain words together. They settled into a groove. And over generations, that groove became so deep that it just became permanent.
Oh, I see.
We say, We are looking for our keys or waiting for a friend because that is the container our ancestors built. Conversely, we listen to music and talk to our boss using the arrow.
And this creates a huge trap because you will frequently hear non-native speakers say, like, I am listening for podcasts or I am waiting to you.
Yeah.
They're trying to apply logic to something that is fundamentally illogical.
Exactly. If you try to aggressively apply the arrow and container rules to these historical idioms, you will drive yourself mad. But here is the elegant reframing of this problem. You do not need to memorize these exceptions with panic. You don't need to sit down with a stack of flashcards until you're stressed out.
So how do you actually learn them if they defy the rules? Just
Now,
guess.
you absorb them naturally over time through low-stakes exposure. By listening to deep dives like this one, reading articles, watching films, your brain is an incredible pattern recognition machine.
Yeah, that's true.
It will automatically start to recognize that listen to sounds right and listen for sounds jarring long before you ever consciously think about why. You just have to let the language wash over you.
That is incredibly freeing. It completely takes the pressure off having to be perfect on day one.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's pull all of this together. Because we've been looking at 2 and 4 in isolated bubbles, analyzing them one at a time. But in real-world communication, nobody speaks in isolated bubbles.
No, they don't.
How do these 2 completely different rules coexist when they crash into each other in the exact same sentence?
They actually layer together beautifully. Real-world layering is where you really see the robustness of the arrow and container models.
Yeah.
A very common structure in English involves stating a feeling, identifying who feels it, and then identifying the action. The structure goes like this. Adjective plus for, introducing the person, plus to, introducing the verb.
Oh, like saying, it's difficult for me to understand.
Yes. Both of these prepositions are living right next to each other, doing entirely different jobs without causing a train wreck.
It's so seamless.
Exactly. Difficult is your adjective. For me, utilizes the container to clearly establish the recipient of the difficulty. To understand utilizes the arrow to point directly at the active verb causing the problem. They don't conflict at all. They collaborate to build a complex thought.
There's actually a fantastic example of this layering in professional emails from the source text. Imagine you're drafting a message to your manager. You might write, I am writing to request a day off for personal reasons.
Flawless collaboration.
Right. To request is the arrow pointing at the action you're taking. For personal reasons is the noun container holding the justification for that action.
And when you see them operating in tandem like that, you realize you don't need to overthink the sentence as a whole. You literally just process it one word at a time.
To really lock this in, let's look at some common slip-ups people make in professional settings. Things you might actually spot in your inbox today. Let's do a quick mistake lab.
I love the mistake lab.
I'll read a real-world blunder, and you tell us why the underlying machinery failed. Ready?
Let's do it. Run them by me.
All right, slip-up number 1. Someone writes, I am taking this course for Improve My English.
Ah, the mechanism fails because improve is a dynamic action verb. You can't put an action in a container. We need the forward momentum of the arrow. So the fix is, I am taking this course to improve my English.
Spot on. Okay, slip up number 2. The team has been brainstorming 2 hours.
Hours is not an action. It is a measurable duration of time. And a duration is a noun concept that belongs inside the container. So the fix is, the team has been brainstorming for hours.
Nice. And one more, which is a bit trickier, honestly. This new software update is designed to our remote employees.
Ah, okay. Employees represents a group of people. They are the recipients who are going to benefit from the software. People are nouns, so they go in the container. The fix is, this new software update is designed for our remote employees.
Perfect. Seeing those corrected in real time really highlights how empowering this realization is. You don't need to do linguistic mental gymnastics before you hit send on an email. You just look at the very next word on the screen. Is it an action? Shoot the arrow. Use to.
Yeah.
Is it a thing, a person, or a chunk of time? Put it in the container. Use for.
It genuinely is that straightforward.
Yeah.
Ultimately, grammar shouldn't be a cage of rigid perfection. Your intuition is built on top of these hidden structural rules, and once you understand the structure, the arrows, and the containers, your brain will naturally start to trust its own vibes.
I love that. Intuition built on structure. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we have a challenge for you, the listener.
Yeah.
For the next few days, we want you to actively hunt for the words to and for in your daily life. When you get a text message or, hear a line of dialogue in a show, Spot the preposition and ask yourself, was that an arrow pointing at an action or a container holding a noun?
And apply that mental model. Watch how quickly the confusion just evaporates from your own writing.
Exactly. Once you start seeing the arrows and containers, you won't be able to unsee them. It completely changes the way you absorb the language.
It really does.
And finally, we want to leave you with a lingering thought to mull over. We talked earlier about how swapping for you with to you completely shifts a sentence from a generous gift to a threatening accusation.
Right, the supervillain shift.
Yeah. If a simple two-letter preposition holds the immense power to completely rewrite the emotional reality of our relationships in an instant, what other tiny, invisible filler words are secretly shaping the emotional weight of your daily conversations without you even realizing it?
Man, it makes you rethink every casual sentence you've spoken today, doesn't it?
It definitely does. Thank you so much for exploring this invisible machinery with us. We hope you feel a little more well-informed and a lot more confident. Keep learning, keep noticing, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.